I want you to be honest with yourself for a second. When Sunday night rolls around and you think about walking into your practice on Monday morning, do you feel excited or do you feel a pit in your stomach? If you're the highest producer in your office but you feel like a prisoner to your own schedule, something is broken in your business model. You have built a machine that relies 100% on your hands moving to survive, and that's a recipe for disaster. We need to stop building jobs for ourselves and start building an asset that runs with systems, profit, and a team that actually supports you. We need to have a very serious conversation about why so many talented dentists are burning out despite having what looks like a successful practice on paper. It usually comes down to three massive blind spots that dental school never mentioned. We're going to talk about the trap of production without profit. We're going to talk about the absolute necessity of a rockstar office manager to take the weight off your shoulders, and we're going to fix your mindset on hiring so that you can finally stop micromanaging. If you feel like you're drowning in administrative chaos while trying to do perfect margins on a crown, this video is going to give you the permission to change how you operate. Most of us graduate with a single metric for success, which is production. We go to conferences, we stand around at the cocktail hour, and we compare numbers. I did $1 million my first year. I'm doing $2 million now. We wear those numbers like badges of honor, but nobody talks about what they actually took home. Nobody talks about how many hours they spent staring at the ceiling at 2 in the morning, wondering if they can make payroll. Here's the reality that took me a long time to learn. High production with high overhead and high stress is worthless. It's actually worse than worthless because it creates a false sense of security. You're running on a hamster wheel. You have to drill faster and faster just to cover the expenses of the bloat that you have created. The first shift that you have to make is, if you want to avoid burnout, is to stop worshiping production and start worshiping profitability. Profitability is not just about greed or buying a nicer boat. Profitability is the oxygen of your business. When you run a lean, profitable practice, you have options. When you are just chasing the top line revenue, you're just a slave to the schedule. You can't take a vacation because the overhead monster needs to be fed. Focusing on EBITDA and your actual margins allows you to breathe and allows you to slow down. I know plenty of dentists collecting $3 million who are broke, and I know dentists collecting $1 million who are putting away tremendous amounts of wealth and playing golf on Fridays. You have to decide which one you want to be. This focus on profitability is the foundation, but you cannot achieve it if you're trying to be the CEO, the COO, and the CFO, and the lead technician all at once. This brings us to the single most critical hire that you'll ever make, and the one that most dentists get wrong. You need a legitimate, empowered office manager. I see this constantly in practices that are struggling. The doctor is in the back trying to do a difficult molar endo, and in between files, they're just answering questions about supply orders or checking if the hygiene schedule is full or dealing with a frustrated patient at the front desk. You cannot function like that. It creates a cognitive load that is unsustainable. By 5 p.m., you're not just physically tired, you're emotionally and mentally depleted because your brain has been switching tasks every 4 minutes for 8 straight hours. I'll be totally transparent with you because I learned this the hard way. When I was earlier in my practice years, I was a standalone doctor in several offices. I looked at the salary required for a high-level office manager and I just didn't want to pay it. I told myself I was being smart with the overhead. So for years, honestly for way longer than I should have, I tried to be both the office manager and the clinical dentist. While I could sometimes keep it together, the reality is that when things got busy, I would inevitably neglect the tasks that a good office manager handles. I was dropping the ball on the business side because I was busy being a dentist. And because I wasn't doing those things, I just had to deal with the consequences. The chaos, the stress, the inefficiency that was the price I paid for trying to save a salary. You need to find a way to increase your profit specifically so that you can afford to offload this role. If you are stressed and you want to do better and have less stress, this needs to happen. Don't delay it as much as I did. You need to develop the office manager role into a true executive position. This isn't just a receptionist who has been there the longest. This is a person who understands your vision, understands the numbers, and has the authority to execute. You have to be willing to delegate, and I mean truly delegate, not just assign tasks and then hover over their shoulder to make sure they did it your way. Delegation is scary for us. We're perfectionists. We deal in millimeters. We think nobody can care as much as we do, but if you don't let go of the administrative heavy lifting, you will never grow. You need someone who can handle the HR issues, the scheduled templating, the collections, and the patient flow issues without you ever even knowing they happened. Your office manager should be your shield. They should protect your clinical time so you can focus entirely on patient care. When you're in the operatory, you are a dentist. When you step out, you are the owner, but you need that second in command to handle the day-to-day operations so you aren't pulled in 1,000 directions. This leads directly to the third component. This is where the math really starts to make sense. We talked about profitability earlier. The reason you need high profitability is not just for your own bank account. You need strong profit margins so that you can afford to hire the absolute best people. There's a pervasive myth in our industry that you should try to keep labor costs as low as possible, which I understand. You see doctors trying to hire a front desk person for the absolute minimum wage the market will bear. And that typically is a catastrophe waiting to happen. If you pay average wages, you get average employees. Average employees make mistakes. They forget to collect copays. They treat patients with indifference. They create drama. And who has to clean up that mess? Well, you do. Cheap labor is the most expensive thing in your practice because it costs you your time and your sanity. When you are highly profitable, you can flip the script. You can pay your teams above market rate. You can attract the office manager who has 10 years of experience and knows how to run a tight ship. You can hire the assistant who anticipates every move so the procedure takes 20 minutes instead of 40. When you pay top dollar for top talent, you are buying back your own freedom. High performers don't need to be micromanaged. They solve problems before they reach your desk. They take ownership of their department. Suddenly, you aren't pushing the practice uphill by yourself. You have a team of professionals who are pulling it with you. Think about the difference in your day. In the cheap labor model, you walk out of a crown prep and your front desk person asks you how to handle an insurance adjustment. Then your assistant asks you, where do you keep the bonding agent? Then your hygienist asks if she can leave early. You're exhausted. In the high profit, high talent model, you walk out of that crown prep and your office manager hands you a production report and says, we had a cancellation of 2, but I already filled it with a high value emergency and I handled that insurance issue from last week. That is the difference. That is what you're paying for. You're paying for peace of mind. You cannot afford those people if your business fundamentals are weak. If your overhead is 65 or 70%, you can't offer the competitive salaries that attract A players. You are stuck with C players, which keeps your overhead high and your stress even higher. It's a vicious cycle. You have to break it by focusing on efficiency and profitability first. This is the virtuous cycle of a successful practice. You focus on efficiency and profitability, which generates the capital to hire exceptional staff. That exceptional staff takes the workload off your plate and improves the patient experience, which leads to more referrals and better retention, which drives more profit. It all feeds itself, but it all starts with you making the decision to stop running your practice like a hobby and start running it like a true business. You have to realize that your clinical skills are not enough to save you from a bad business model. You can be the best clinician in your state, but if your systems are broken and your team is mediocre, you will always be tired. You will always be worried about money. And eventually, you will burn out. I talk to dentists every day who say they understand this conceptually, but they don't know how to implement it. They ask me, Ryan, how do I calculate my true overhead? How do I write a job description for an office manager that attracts a leader? How do I have the conversation about money with my team? You can't figure all that out between hygiene checks. You need a system. You need a blueprint. And that's why I created the Dental Business Fundamentals course. I built this course to be the owner's manual that they forgot to give us when we graduated. I want to be very clear about this. This is not just a few PDFs and a pep talk. This is the most comprehensive online dental business course that exists. We have put together over 250 videos covering every single topic of running a modern practice. I didn't hold anything back. I'm sharing the specific systems, the exact documents, and the precise strategy that I use to manage my own practices every single day. We go deep into the P&L so you understand your money. We give you the frameworks for hiring. We talk about leadership. Really, my goal with Dental Business Fundamentals was very simple. I wanted to make this the best ROI that you ever get in your entire career, better than any laser you buy, better than any scanner you buy. I want to make sure that your investment back is over 10 times by what you paid just by implementing the first module. Now, I also know that some of you might be thinking, Ryan, I'm drowning right now. I want the full course, but honestly, I just need to stop the bleeding immediately. I get that. I want you to win regardless of where you're starting. That is why I also created a free resource for you. It's a 90-day plan to get your dental practice profitable and up to speed quickly. If you aren't ready for the full deep dive of the course yet, this 90-day plan is the triage kit. It'll help you identify the biggest leaks in your boat and plug them so that you can stabilize your business. You can click the link below to download that free 90-day plan. Whether you grab the free guide or you jump into the full Dental Business Fundamentals course, the important thing is that you take action. Do not let another month go by wishing things were different. You spent years mastering clinical side. You spent hundreds of thousands of dollars learning how to save teeth. Doesn't it make sense to invest a fraction of that time and money learning how to save yourself? Even if you don't click anything today, I want you to know to do one thing tomorrow. Look at your team, ask yourself who is taking work off your plate and who is putting work back on it. Start thinking about how you can empower your key people to lead. Building a practice that serves you, one that's more profitable and enjoyable. That is the goal. Let's keep working together to make dentistry fun, fulfilling, and rewarding. Subscribe so you don't miss the next strategy, and I'll see you soon.